Hi, I'm Rod Gilley. Welcome to Relax and Chat. Got a special episode today. Gonna do something a little different that I haven't done before. Right now I'm gonna play a little clip of a song, and then I'll explain why I played that clip. You're in for a treat today, so sit back and relax.
Tried to please him, couldn't make him, but I couldn't shake him. But then I awoke, and the colors all changed. Look all around, curious and curious, the laugh out loud, and the beautiful dreams, more frightening than the worst nightmare, all at once, so it seems.
That clip was Colors All Change by EA Smiroldo, who is not only a pretty good rocker, she's also an author who wrote The Silent Count. And on top of that, she's a nuclear engineer. So sit back and relax. We got quite a show for you today. Hi, EA. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Just in case some of the audience may not be familiar with you, how about if you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you. I am an author. My name is EA Smiroldo, and my novel is called The Silent Count. It's a climate change thriller. I am very proud of it. I poured my soul into it. It's about a young woman who's an engineer and desperately wants to save the planet. It's a climate change thriller. I am more of a moderate personally on climate change issues. So this is more of a book about a young woman who has a goal but gets thwarted every step of the way by everybody around her. So it's about a lot of things, but yeah, that's my novel.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. Climate change, pretty much everyone has heard about it. Most people that I know don't really know anything about it, and even I don't do politics on my show, but from that perspective, it's always, oh, let's worry about it 50 years from now. We don't need to do anything now, and we'll probably talk about that a little more. I think I'd like to ask you a question or two, and we'll just kind of jump into that. The first thing on my mind, as I mentioned earlier, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I majored in accounting, and I'm a writer, and I know absolutely nothing about your profession. And it said that you are a nuclear engineer who specializes in weapons non-proliferation. Boy, I can't even say it. I'm from Kentucky. So for someone like me, what does that actually mean?
Yes. So I do many things, but I am a nuclear engineer. I have a degree in engineering, University of Maryland. Actually, I have an MBA too. So I've taken those accounting classes for some of them the struggle is real. But in any case, yes, I practice nuclear engineering as a consultant now. I did work for the federal government for a long time. I'm a native Washingtonian, which plays into the book because it's kind of a political thriller. My character in the novel is a nuclear engineer. There's lots of different things a nuclear engineer can do. Of course, most people are familiar with nuclear power plants, and I have worked in that industry before. My area is more weapons non-proliferation, which is to ensure that we have peaceful uses of nuclear power or nuclear energy without using it for, making weapons or dirty bombs or whatever you can do with it. There's medical applications, there's space applications. There's all these great things you can do with it. So my job is to ensure that that technology and those materials and those components and equipment don't, if they're exported overseas, don't get into the wrong hands. So that's basically where I fit in. But it's a beautiful field, and there's a lot of work to be done, and I highly recommend it if anyone's interested.
The Silent Count. Now, is this a fictional piece based on your scientific knowledge and experience?
Yes. The Silent Count is about life. It's sort of a science fiction novel in that it's set slightly in the future. And in the novel, climate change gets so dire that a young woman has sort of a thought experiment, if you will, an idea that is her PhD thesis. But of course, no one's interested because at the time that she completes it, things aren't so dire. But it's based on real science, which is not recommended in real life. You know, this is kind of meant to be a satire to point to real truths in the world. But the real science is, and this is on the first page of my nuclear engineering textbook in college, by the way, that's stuck in my head for all these years. And I was like, someone's got to write a crazy science fiction novel about this. You can use nuclear weapons to do a variety of things, like create harbors, extract oil from shale, and it said to eliminate certain mountain ranges to create more favorable weather patterns. So it literally said this, and I was wondering, why has no one alerted the media? You know, this is big. But in any case, it stuck in my craw, and no one wrote the crazy science fiction novel. So I said, well, why not myself? And that is what I did. So the idea is to use this theory. She creates sort of a modeling program to determine the best way to apply this information to create the more favorable weather patterns to alleviate the effects of climate change.
You know, I'm 58 years old, and I can remember in northern Kentucky when winter was really serious. Snow up to your hips, temperatures below zero. That was winter. You know, June was a spring month. Today in northern Kentucky, wintertime can hover around the mid-60s and mid-70s most of the winter. And June is a sweltering hot month like August used to be, you know, and that's just in the last 30 years. So it's real, but it's hard to, you know, whoever suppresses it does a good job of suppressing it because people don't, you know, yeah, I've heard of climate change, and that's about the conversation. So it's really awesome that you've written this novel that sounds very entertaining, but also will bring it to light a little bit, right? Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
It is a thriller. It is a thriller. So all heck breaks loose, as you can imagine. It's not just, oh, they apply this and life is perfect. No. Things do go off the rail. There's a massive plot twist in the middle, which I won't spoil here. But I highly recommend anyone who enjoys reading thrillers and is okay with staying up past their bedtime. I think they're going to like it. And there's some romance in it. You know, there's all that good stuff.
Ooh, I'm going to have to get a copy of it as quickly as I can. I did look it up on Amazon, and it is on my Goodreads TBR, and I will certainly read it because I'm looking forward to it. I read the little blurb about it, and it was very fascinating. It's cool. And yes, audience, I think you ought to take a look at this one. Now, in my very limited experience, science is neither good or bad. Science is the front row of converting yesterday's science fiction to today's reality. You know, Captain Kirk had the communicator. My first cell phone flipped open the same way, you know, and people are good or bad. Now, in terms of climate change and nuclear power, you know, we've often heard, you know, what is it called? Post-apocalyptic stories where there's nuclear war and everything gets turned upside down. Again, I know very little of science, and I don't mean to be foolish. I wonder, though, is there even in theory a real thesis on how nuclear power could be used at some point in the future to correct climate change, to, maybe alter the course of this downward spiral where the Arctic is becoming a tropic, Is there like a real scientific theory that could be used in a positive way?
Sure. For one thing, nuclear power does not release greenhouse gas into the air. So the problem is, in the United States, we have what you call a once through cycle, where they don't continue to recycle the spent nuclear fuel. So then there's the problem of what do you do with the nuclear fuel, which when it's used once, it becomes more possible. You can use it to make nuclear weapons, So in that respect, there is a danger, but that's just part because of the U.S. policy. In other countries like India, certainly Sweden and Finland, I personally visited the sites where they were building these facilities for long-term storage of spent nuclear fuel. Other countries are doing it. We're not. We actually invented this technology, but because of our policies, we don't do that. India has been recycling nuclear fuel since I think 1964. They have a breeder reactor over there that I believe is part of they have like a plan for the future. And in fact, eventually they want to start using thorium, which is even more resistant to proliferation. So there are a lot of things that we don't do here in the United States, but others do in other countries. So other people have nuclear power plants. There have been some high-profile disasters, but it's getting safer and safer. The high-profile disasters, for example, in Japan, some could say that they could have predicted that there would be a tsunami of that level. Their diesel engines, their secondary backup power to keep everything running and cooled off, were under where the water level would be. So many say that could have been predicted with a probabilistic risk assessment, which the Japanese at the time were using. So there's a lot of different things that we can point to much more safety. The power reactor like Chernobyl, that's an illegal design in the United States and always has been. It is, not something that they're building now. And in fact, many safety features were added post Chernobyl to keep something like that from happening again. So we're moving forward with nuclear power, but now they also they've approved a design for something called a small modular reactor that can be used and much more safely and non-proliferation friendly, in a non-proliferation friendly way. And also those reactors can be used to manufacture hydrogen, which is another fuel that can be used to be more safe. And then there's fusion. So I know fusion's a long way off still. I know there's a lot of flap in the news about how great it is and how, we're going to be we're saved, but it's a long way off. But there's many ways that the nuclear power can be used to fulfill this need and fill the void.
Well, I've been known to say that I think the human race, I don't really think in terms of color or sexual orientation or geographic location. I try to think of the world as the world, and we're all human beings. And I speak pretty frequently that I think we're in our childhood, politically and otherwise, battling back and forth and arguing about trivial things while major things are not getting done. But very gradually, things do get done. And I believe, and you can certainly guide me on this, you know a lot more about it than I do, that let's say in the next 100 years, the human race will learn how to harness and use nuclear power in a positive way, and how to take care of the leftover debris and, things like that. I believe inevitably we'll have to go to space, and, world population will grow over time. And just like in the space industry, I won't name any specific company, most of them probably. There's trial and error. There's things that work and things that don't work. We're learning that technology. We're, shooting up a rocket. It doesn't always make it. When I was in high school, there was a huge tragedy with a space shuttle, It happens. That's how we learn things. The first guy that shot a rifle probably didn't go so well, and we learn things
Yes.
very slowly. It's a shame, but it's true. And I'm curious what you feel about nuclear power being clean and harnessed and used, perhaps in space travel someday. I mean, it sounds like a silly thing to say, but like I said, the sci-fi of the past is the reality of the future, and you see that in every area. So what is your thought about, what do you see 100 years from now as the best possible use for nuclear power?
Well, we are using it in space travel. We're using direct energy conversion with plutonium-238,
Mhm.
which is different than using it to create energy using like plutonium-239 or a fissile material in that way. But in any case, it's sort of like I took a whole class on this subject. It's so strange, right? From a guy that was in the Manhattan Project. He was probably about 100 years old. And then I think out the year I took the class, I think the guy kind of it's really kind of sad. He fell into dementia and they stopped teaching the class. But anyway, it was really interesting. If anyone's interested, look up I think the Sievert equations. Oh God. But anyway, yes, 100 years from now, oh gosh. I hope that we've, renewable energies are part of the picture too. I mean, the thing is, I don't think we're there yet in terms of we're subsidizing it heavily to make it profitable, but I just don't think that we're there yet. And I know that your show isn't about politics. I just want to mention though that, other countries control the minerals that are needed to make that possible.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like with fossil fuels. A lot of countries control a lot of fossil fuel usage, as we're seeing with Ukraine and Russia. Some have said Russia is basically a gas station disguised as a country or something. There's going to be a lot of resistance to that. And then you wonder 100 years from now, okay, these countries, their whole economies are based on fossil fuels, what is going to happen? Are they going to be able to provide for themselves? Are they planning for the future? Some have, like I went to UAE and they know that they're going to run out of oil in 50 years or so. So they've diversified their economy, but I don't think other countries are doing that. So for fossil fuel reasons or not. That said, I hope to think, that they find a way to make the use of things like coal, carbon capture. I know a lot of people really poo-poo that idea, but if there's some way that they could do that would save other countries maybe a lot of grief too. And because they're not going to stop using it, people aren't going to stop driving their cars.
Yeah.
You wonder, I need a new car in a couple of years. I drive my car until the wheels fall off. I drive it for really like 15 years. I'm that person. In years, is my car going to be illegal? What is the option? Should I buy an electric vehicle when we had hybrid vehicles, then we had electric? Like, what is the future for that? 100 years from now, who knows? Like 15 years ago, we didn't have iPhones like we do now. There's so many things that we can't even predict. And much as I would love to say, we're going to be shiny, happy people holding hands. I wish that we could say that, but wow. I'm sure that we will have a solution for spent nuclear fuel. I'd like to think that we almost treat it like a mine where we can go back in and take out some fuel and sort of recycle it. And, it's like they would have thought of things like that. And then we have the small modular reactors. A lot of the reactors we have are quite old. We are renewing the licenses for them. And this isn't just the United States. This is in other countries too. We're renewing the licenses for them. But I think that they're eventually, if they're 100 years old, people say 100 years and beyond, maybe 100 years, but I don't think beyond is a good idea. So there's a lot of things that I think we that are going to change. It's so difficult to think, how is it going to change? There's a lot of people that would like to see us have a whole different style of economy, for example, but I don't think that would work either. I think you're an entrepreneur. I think you know what I'm getting at. People want their freedom.
Yeah.
I want my freedom. You would like your freedom. People want their freedom, and they're going to fight for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be. I hope it is. I'm not worldwide knowledgeable, but I hope freedom rings out throughout the entire world as a goal, if not a reality. Having a little time crunch. You're very fascinating. I mean, for heaven's sakes, you're a nuclear engineer. You're an author who's written a fascinating novel, and you're a rocker.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. I will have a link in the description to your YouTube page with those great songs. I mean, really, really good. And they're intertwined in the novel, right?
Yes. There's a character as a nuclear engineer, and her ex-boyfriend, who she has to see everywhere, suddenly became, his star rose while hers kind of fell. And he is a rocker, and he is Jericho Wells, the big star. And anyway, the novel is laced with a lot of the song lyrics. Think of like a jukebox musical. This is kind of a jukebox novel in a way. So real songs. I am a guitar playing fool. So I'm playing the guitar on my music, and I do sing as much as I have no shame, but I love to be out there. I was a big fan growing up of Led Zeppelin, and I don't know. Someone told us once that we were kind of like Led Zeppelin meets the Go-Go's, something like that. But if anyone likes the rock and roll, I think you might like it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I grew up in the Led Zeppelin era, and I love the music. I love the lyrics. I love your voice. I think it's awesome. And I was very impressed with that. And like I said, add that to your other many qualities. We would need a 4-hour show. And unfortunately, I don't have it. But I wish I had so much more time, because I've enjoyed very much this conversation. But boy, there's so much we have to leave unsaid at the moment. But maybe you can come back sometime whenever you feel like it. You're always welcome.
Yeah.
So because of the time crunch, in every episode of Relax and Chat, I give the guest the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, and you can share anything you like, and say hi to the audience.
Thank you. You can find me at easmiroldo.com, EASMIROLDO, and I'm sure that the link will be down below. And so I love to, as he said, I do love to play some music, and he will link my musical pages. I am going to be appearing on something called It's Books That Make You, has invited me to be on their show. It's on June 3rd from 2 to 4 Pacific time. That's, what time is that? 5 to 7 Eastern time. And it's going to be a show called Beachbound Book Bash, BBBB. And I'll be giving the top 10 fascinating nuclear facts, one of which will involve my personal connection to Batman and Superman. So you got to hear it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Now that show is going to be produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.
Yes.
Right?
Black Chateau.
I've heard a lot about them. They have quite a great reputation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I already have that show on my calendar. I can't wait. And then in October, the Book Fest comes back. I'll definitely be there. I love it. I saw my very first one this spring and absolutely loved it. Let me lean over right, put a picture of your book up there for everybody to see. I'll have a link to that book, a link to your music on YouTube, and to your website. Will all be down in the description. We'll have it all set up, and I hope you will accept my standing invitation to come back to the show anytime you like.
Thank you.
Anytime, for any reason, you're certainly welcome to come back. Well, I guess we'll say goodbye for now, and keep on with your great science work, and I hope you're continuing to write. Are you going to write another novel?
There's a sequel coming.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely promote that when that comes out. Well, again, thank you so much for doing the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. It really has.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now, for your pleasure, the full song Colors All Change by EA Smiroldo.
Tried to please him, couldn't make him, but I couldn't shake him. But then I awoke, and the colors all changed. Look all around, curious and curious, the laugh out loud, the beautiful and dreams more frightening than the worst nightmare all at once, so it seems. Away from pale reality, climb volcanoes and I've swam me in the ocean. But then I awoke, and the colors all changed. I live on a planet, isn't she a strange one? Come to know and love the earth, and I've seen her bleed. She defines the borders, she defines the colors. But now through the smoke, the colors all change. Look all around, curious and curious, the laugh out loud, the beautiful and dreams more frightening than the worst nightmare all at once, so it seems. Look all around, curious and curious, the laugh out loud, the beautiful and dreams more frightening than the worst